Abid, our lovely friend who lives here in London, is managing our meeting host account. So he will be sharing slides with us. We've got Leslie and Steph R, who are going to be monitoring the chat. So if you've got something you really want to say and you've not had a chance to speak, please make sure you post a message in the Slack, in the chat for this. We also have a Slido running for questions. So if you take a look at that, anything you see that's important that you've seen as a question that you want to upvote, please do. And so we know to focus on that in future chats, as well as in this one where we can. So if you can open another tab, pop into the Slido and take a look. There are some questions there from our last meeting, which we are happy to revisit. And then we'll obviously be adding more questions as we go along. Please add your questions. No question is stupid. No question is too small. Even if your question you think isn't important to other people, you'd be surprised. So before I start doing introductions, in fact, no, let's do introductions first, and then I'll talk about some of the things that we found last time. So I'm going to introduce our moderators. So these are the people who have put up with me for the last 48 hours, droning on and on about how I want to have nice chats with everyone. And some of them are here, some of them aren't. Oh, and now I can see, not the slides, sorry, Abid. So I'm going to get them to introduce themselves, and we're going to have an icebreaker question that I'll be asking all of you too. And today's icebreaker is, what is your spirit animal? So hopefully these crazy people will start introducing themselves. So I'll introduce myself first. My name's Kat. I was a primary school teacher for 11 years, elementary school, for those of you in other parts of the world in the UK. I specialised in computing, and when we introduced our computing national curriculum, I realised I had a really big passion for helping schools. So that's what I've been doing for the last few years. I do a lot of Google stuff. I do a lot of computing stuff, things like Scratch. And yeah, I like to share and talk about mental health because I personally suffer from depression. And I'm quite public about that because I think it's really important that we raise the profile and normalise it. I don't think Andy's been able to join us yet. Oh, sorry. My spirit animal is cat, obviously, because it's my name. And they're the most awesome animal ever. So I'm going to jump straight to Pete and make him introduce himself. Just, Pete, tell us where you're from, what you do, and what your spirit animal is.
Okay, so I'm Pete Dunford. I'm from South Wales in the UK. I'm a college lecturer, so I work as part of the animal studies team there. I'm also a learning technologist, one of the learning technologists in the college, so I've been quite heavily involved in trying to help with some of the contingency planning that's going on. We haven't yet shut, but we're all kind of expecting over the next week that our students are going to start deciding to self-isolate, because they've kind of been given that option if they feel a dry cough coming on. And obviously when you have been told that sort of thing and you're 16 years old, then everybody feels a dry cough coming on. So yeah, we're starting to look into what we can do. But I've been teaching for 13 years. I'm kind of biology related, so I also tend to get all the virus questions from my colleagues and students too as to what's going on. Spirit animal, well, a lot of people are going to hate me. I'm probably going to say a rat. I love rats. I used to have them as pets, and I think they're just some of the most wonderful, friendly animals you can find out there, and intelligent. And you know, I'd like to pretend I'm friendly and intelligent. So, yeah, I'm going to go with that.
I thought you were going to go for platypus. I'm very disappointed.
Yeah, and Bill the platypus is stuck at work at the moment, so I'm hoping that that I'll be able to bring him back with me if I have to do remote working.
We're just going to not explain that one. I think everyone hanging on that. Steph.
Hi, everyone. I am coming to you from California in the United States. And my role is I am a TOSA, a teacher on special assignment for my school district, specifically for my school. So I teach high school. I'm about 18 years into teaching, and have a dual role of helping chair a project-based learning pathway while also helping teachers. About 60% of the time I do instructional technology, helping people integrate technology into their classrooms. So right now that educational technology, instructional technology role has taken over my whole life. Luckily, I have a student teacher at the moment. So I'm able to help her help students while I am helping teachers help their students. in terms of my spirit animal, I would say, because I have 3 children and they're obsessed with narwhals, I would say the narwhal, the unicorn of the sea, would be mine. Yeah, since we're unicorns everywhere, but also unicorns of the sea. So Leslie, you're up.
Okay, I'm on. Hi, everyone. My name is Leslie Altman. I'm from Down Under in Australia. I work in the Lismore Diocese, 47 schools in our diocese, and we're situated in New South Wales on the coast. So that's the east coast of Australia. My main area of expertise now is working with teachers online, supporting them in their learning journey and to become accredited. So I create credential courses and I mentor teachers online. Yesterday I learned so much about, making that online learning space, more engaging for adults. My spirit animal, let me think. I was thinking, emu came to mind. It's probably the second biggest bird in the world, and it can't fly, but it can run fast. I thought, just be a little bit flexible there, and the emu is my spirit animal.
Please, can someone Photoshop Leslie's head onto an emu? Please.
Go away. Right, that's enough from Kat. Who's taking over this chat? That's it. Bye.
I don't think Emma's joined us yet. She may do later because she's an incredibly useful person to speak to if she can join us, because she's already been doing remote learning for quite a while now. But we'll go over to Jess.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jess Marsh, or some of you might know me as Tyreman Marsh. I've also been in teaching 13 years, so same as Pete, and hopefully not unluckily, and have been in the UK for a few years now, but as maybe you can hear, I'm American. Actually, though, in the past week, I've been asked if I'm Scottish or Irish, so maybe you'll have to tell me if my accent, I don't know, we have California represented here anyway. So I have been in all different roles in education, from pre-K to university student lecturing, so teaching student teachers online, and now working with EdTech Team UK. So, my spirit animal, what came to mind is a tiger, because my little one is obsessed with them lately, and he does the sign language for it too, the rawr tiger. So I will go with that. Cheers.
Amazing, thank you. I think Steph H hasn't been able to join us so far, so we'll jump over to Clay.
Hey, Clay Smith, coming from New York City, and I am right now, this moment, getting the word that New York City schools are closing. And I've been responsible for setting up all of the distance learning things and supporting with all of that happening. So I might be with you for about 5 more minutes, and then I got to go run and start putting New York City together for online learning. Yay! And spirit animal, I'm gonna go with an owl. Knowledgeable and flying all around right now. So
thank you for joining us, albeit briefly, and good luck. Abid.
Hello, everyone. Got weird echo coming. Isabel?
Yes, I think so. No.
Right, I'll try that.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's better.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Hi, everyone. I'm Abid. I'm joining from about 3 devices, which is why I've got the weird echo, but I think I've fixed that. But yeah, I'm Abid. I'm the IT director at Leading Learning Trust in London, which is a multi-academy trust of 2 schools, and all-round IT, I guess you could say. My spirit animal, I suppose if you've been following me on Twitter over the last couple of years, you've probably seen the growth that I've had and I used to feel very, very self-conscious about the way I looked. But then someone kind of introduced me to the world of selfies, and it kind of just blew up after that. So I guess I would have to say my spirit animal is a peacock, because I like to show myself off, I guess.
So true. Oh, Abid the peacock.
Yes. And nobody Photoshop my head onto a peacock. Thank you very much.
I mean, there's a whole wealth of Photoshop going on after all this, isn't there? Rachel C.
Hi everyone, my name is Rachel. I'm also originally from Australia. I know we've got another Aussie on, Leslie. But I am currently living in London and have been here for 3 years as a head of digital learning and now working as a EdTech trainer. Interestingly, when this idea of a spirit animal came up, I was like, I have no idea. So I've just done a spirit animal quiz, and it says that my spirit animal is a wolf. And it says that the power of the wolf brings forth instinct, intelligence, appetite for freedom. And I think me moving to London explains that one entirely, and I'll leave it there.
Pete says you're cheating. I think Nick's joining us later, who's, if anyone, or people who weren't here yesterday, he mentioned about halfway through the call that he's already in quarantine at his dad's house. So, yeah. Okay, Abid's drawing my attention to his slide. One of the questions when you signed up was whether or not you like Vegemite. There is an ongoing war about whether or not Vegemite is acceptable. It is an Australian yeast food. I'm a Marmite eater, so I think it's great, and I'm sure it's fine. I've never eaten it. I've just ordered it to try it because I feel like I need to know what this is all about. But I think anybody who's said yes, they are great. But Abid will heartily disagree with me, I'm sure.
Definitely, for sure. This is the real reason for this conversation tonight. We're not worried about COVID-19 in any way whatsoever. We need to worry about the excessively increasing number of people who are fond of Vegemite. Please leave the call now, all of you.
Thank you, Abid. Can you close down the presentation so that we can see faces again? Excellent. Right, so I'm just going to run through a couple of things that came up yesterday, and then I'm going to hand over to you all to introduce yourselves as well, because we like to know who we're talking to. We like to get to know each other. So there were a few things that came up repeatedly in our call yesterday, and I wanted to just sort of stress them again so you can hear what was said. The big thing that kept coming up was that we shouldn't be trying to teach staff new things. We shouldn't be saying, learn this, 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 and this. It's too late now. We need to help and support with the tools that we're already using. Same with your pupils. It's really important that we don't overwhelm people. So that was the first thing that came up. Another thing that was mentioned was be really difficult to try and stick to a normal lesson and a normal timetable. Trying to fit in all the curriculum that you would normally cover just isn't going to happen. And actually, we've got to be prepared to shy away from that and do shorter lessons or small lessons or work with groups, or not stick to what you would be on timetable. Maybe just do half an hour in the morning, let the students do in the afternoon, things like that. And the third one, which is the reason we're here right now, is it's so important to take some time for yourself. We don't do that too very often as teachers generally, but we need to make sure that we're not so focused on our students that we aren't giving ourselves time to think, to breathe. I know a lot of people that are here right now spent all weekend working because their school is launching one thing or another on Monday. From talking to people, I know already isolating. Some of you, your schools have closed. Clay, his schools are closing right now. And some of you aren't, but we're expecting it to happen soon. So the most important thing is to make sure you have that break, that moment to speak and think and decompress. So we're going to go through, I'm going to go through the list alphabetically, and as people join, I'll add them on to the end. I'm just going to ask you, just like our presenters did, to introduce yourself. We want to know your name, what country you're in, very brief synopsis of your current situation and your spirit animal. So, Alfonso, I'm afraid you're going first.
All right. My name's Alfonso. I'm from Edinburgh, Texas, deep in the south of Texas. We're right on the border, right across from Mexico, about 15-minute drive over. I'm the instructional technologist, like I mentioned yesterday, for 13 schools. There's one of me. And so right now, our current situation, we're on standby. This is the week of our spring break, but we're just waiting on news to see if that will be extended. And my spirit animal will be the turtle, because I'm very slow to speak, very slow to respond, but I keep my path and I'm very persistent and determined.
Amazing. I forgot to say, if you don't want to introduce yourself, that's absolutely fine. Just say pass or drop a message in the chat so I know to skip over you. I don't want anyone to feel like they have to speak. This is no pressure. It's informal. It's a bit of fun. Thank you, Alfonso. It's lovely to speak to you. Going to move on to Angela. Oh. Okay. Angela.
Can you hear me okay now?
Yes. Hello.
Hello, everyone. I'm Angela Valentine. I'm actually from Chicago, Illinois. I am a higher ed instructor. I teach at the local community college. I am a Google certified trainer. My son is in elementary school down the street, and I do support the teachers there. I do a lot of volunteer work as a parent and offering my Google skills to the teachers there. And they have just decided to, as of Friday, he came home and said he won't be in school for another 2 weeks. So just trying to get a feel of, with everything happening so fast, what everyone else is doing and what services I can offer, both on the higher ed, on the educational side, the elementary side, and as well as I support, my husband's a former pastor. So there's a lot of 501c3s that are acting as support as the schools are out and the young people are out. So I want to see how I can get the 501c3s involved as well, because they do get Google for Education. For those of you that may not know, they get the full platform if they apply as a 501c3. So
what's a 501c3?
It's like a nonprofit. It's for the nonprofit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
School programs. I'm sorry. That's what we call it here in the States. But you have to be a 501c3 category as a nonprofit, and Google will give you the full education platform. And a lot of people don't even know that. So.
Thank you.
Yes.
Benjamin. Oh, spirit animal. Sorry, Angela, what's your spirit animal?
I have no clue. I think I'm a bird, I guess, because I have a high vision or butterfly. I don't know. To see what I can do outside of the box and see the high level view and kind of take things, out of the norm. So I don't know what that's called. So I'll have to do a test afterwards. I just came on late, so I'm like, I need to find out. I'll find out and let you know. I'll put it in the chat. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Benjamin, are you happy to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Awesome. Hey, so my name's Benjamin. I'm the CEO of Global Social Media Marketing, marketing and education technology training company. Also a former English teacher in Spain and a Google for Education certified trainer right now. So for me, I definitely want to be aware of, what district leaders are dealing with right now. Just as a note too, I know with all the distant learning, video conference calling has been really popular. I've seen a huge spike on Google recently with search patterns around Google Hangouts. And so my YouTube videos, we have a training video on that. So guys, feel free to check that out if you're not familiar with Hangouts. And I'm here to just learn really today on what you guys are experiencing, what's working in the distant learning, and how you guys are planning for what seems like a big week in the education world this year, this upcoming week, with everyone's closing schools last week.
Great. And your spirit animal?
Oh yeah, my spirit animal. So I'm definitely going to go with a water dragon. I'm a Pisces too. I'm kind of a fish, zodiac wise, and I'm very curious about the Chinese language. So I'm going to go with water dragon.
Sounds very exciting. I might have to look up what that is later.
Yeah.
Christina, you've just joined us. You're welcome to introduce yourself. You may want to wait for us, but let me know. We're just saying who we are, where we're from, and what our spirit animal is, and what our current situation is with regards to school closures. Silence. Okay, that's fine. We'll go on to Edward.
Hi there. My name is Dr. Ed, and I am an educational YouTuber. I run a YouTube channel called Ed on EdTech. I just from the self-isolation perspective, I've been in self-isolation probably for about 4 years now. I also serve as a chaplain with the Calgary Police. So I have some training in the mental health area. And I'm looking to see, if there's anything that I could help, anything that could be a benefit to the community. And spirit animal, as Benjamin just mentioned, something Chinese. So my Chinese zodiac is the monkey, and monkey very much fits with my personality, my brain, everything. So thank you very much for this opportunity.
No problem. Thank you for joining us. It's lovely to meet you. I'm going to move on to Elizabeth. Yay. Or silence. Hopefully Elizabeth can join us, because I know she's in Italy at the moment, so obviously very much in the middle of it all. Hopefully we'll come back to her later. Oh, are you here? Are you ready to talk and introduce yourself, Elizabeth? Still silence. Oh, your mic's gone away. I will move on, Elizabeth, and if you can let us know when it's working, I'll come back to you, and we'll go to Frederick.
Hi, can you hear me?
Hi.
Hi, my name is Frederick Ballou. I'm currently a Google certified trainer / innovator, NYC 2019. Whoa. I teach 5th grade band in my school district, but I'm also kind of a default, depending on the building I'm in, tech person. I'm not going to use the term spirit animal, as I'm not an indigenous person. But as you can hear in the background, my horrible dog, I'm going to say I'm a dog, specifically a golden retriever, just a big, dopey golden retriever. So I'm just here because I want to see how I can support the other teachers. I have a fair amount of, I believe we call them laggards, that are struggling with what we're supposed to do. And my district just closed Monday. All of this week and through next week, which is our spring break. So I just want to know how I can support the other teachers. That's all.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. Hans. Oh, silence still. Should I come back to you?
Hans said he was going on a family walk.
Okay.
Oh, wait,
yeah, fine.
I'm here.
Oh.
Sorry. I just muted you guys for a second. So my name is Hans Tolman, Google innovator with London 19, and I'm out here at the park with my family. This is Jonas. Hi. He says hi.
Hello.
And the situation that I'm at an elementary school. I'm a STEAM technology specialist, and we are one of the only counties in California who has not closed their schools, because Kern County has not started testing for the coronavirus. That'll start tomorrow, and then in 2 to 3 days they'll get the results to see if we have anyone who's active. So we're in this weird kind of transition where our government hasn't really taken, the appropriate action, and we're kind of lagging behind. So that's where we're at right now.
And what animal would
I don't think
you?
I am definitely a distracted animal. That's my animal. He's distracted.
Excellent.
Probably a bear.
Excellent. Elizabeth, are you up and running by any chance?
I think so. Can you hear me? Yay.
Yes.
Okay.
There you are.
So I'm at the moment, I'm getting a whole bunch of messages from faculty through WhatsApp, just because a couple of new articles just came out in the Italian press. So I'm sorry for the dings, but I need to be able to see them. We've been out of school now for about 10 days. With at first it was a 2-week, and then now it's of course the 3rd of April, because we go on spring break on the 10th of April. We're not sure how that's going to work yet. And I actually live in the school building, so we're in kind of a different situation. We have 47 boarders. We're a secondary only in the center of Rome, and we're an IBDP program. So we have seniors who are scattered from California to Hong Kong just in my own advisory. We've got 9th graders who have no idea what they're supposed to be doing. They're completely unorganized and messy. And we have teachers who are exhausted, putting in 8 to 10 hour days online. We know, having watched what's happened in Asia, that the second week should generally be kids becoming less engaged because they get kind of burned off. The novelty of everything burns off, and the teachers need to kick up their engagement level when they're kind of starting to figure it out, but also exhausted. So that's where we are.
Crazy times for you down there.
It's been interesting, I have to say. We just heard that one of the other international schools just got busted because they tried to have some kind of a gathering in their courtyard, and the neighbors called it into the police to break it up. Italians are very, very serious about isolation.
Yeah, goodness. And what animal would you say represents you?
I did a little quiz and it says tiger, which I would have said on my own, but I'm not really sure why. I'm a little tenacious. I don't give up. And I like to try and find problems before they happen. So I have to say my biggest hiccup has been that so I'm SWE 19 and artificial intelligence, of course. And my artificial intelligence is my project, and that's kind of been put on hold a lot because we had to cancel everything. And I don't know if we're going to come back together before May. We don't know what's going to happen. So I'm figuring that out. But in the short term, how do we get IBDP seniors ready for exams when they're not here? And I don't know how other programs, I don't know what that looks like in the A levels. I don't know what it looks like in other programs, but for IBDP, it's a bit of an issue. So
that's definitely a question that's come up a lot, and I think it'd be good for us to have a chat about, because I hear a lot of people talking about standardized exams and what's happening in their area. So I think that would be quite nice to have a jump on in a bit. We'll carry on with introductions. Jennifer C. I'm watching C. Okay.
Is that me, Jennifer Conti?
Yep.
Hello. I'm Jennifer Conti. I am from from the United States in Ohio, and I am a tech integration specialist there at a school, a small private Catholic school. And we are closed starting tomorrow. The governor of the state of Ohio has closed all schools in Ohio starting tomorrow through for the next 3 weeks until April 3rd. And some schools that includes their spring break, and some it does not. We will be going to distance learning for our students, though, not until March 23rd. So our teachers have a week now to prepare. We are permitted in our school buildings. So I'll be working with the teachers to get to make sure that they understand how to push out assignments through Google Classroom. A lot of them use Google Classroom in grades 3 through 8, but not on a consistent basis. So they're looking to get some more information on how that's going to work consistently for them. In grades K through 2 in our building, they are simply going to use emails and send information and links to the parents, because the students haven't been introduced to Google Classroom yet. So one of the things that we decided to do was, as you mentioned at the beginning, Kat, technology that we haven't used yet and that our parents aren't familiar with and our students aren't familiar with. That was one of the big choices that, we decided to make, not to push out anything new to them. I can confirm too that the governor has also told us, I believe it was yesterday, he came out with an announcement that we will not be doing any of our state testing. It falls within this 3-week window. So they have decided, rather than try and figure that out, they're just going to, dismiss that for this school year. I don't know what implications that's going to have for some of our students and because we have a third grade reading proficiency and other information that we get from that, but we'll kind of see how that works. Our daughter, who's at the local university, her classes have also been canceled for the remainder of the school year. So I'm curious to see what's going to happen with the credits that they get, what their grades are going to be, how the universities are going to handle that as well, because that would be most universities, if not all, in the state of Ohio as well. So we're kind of, as we go, figuring this out, just because this is pretty obviously unprecedented. So we'll see how that goes.
Yes, I think standardized exams seem to be a really big topic at the moment. Thank you. Oh, what animal would you go for?
Oh, bear. Bear is my spirit animal.
You and Hans will have to chat about bears at some point.
Yes, we will.
Thank you very much. Next person on my list is Jennifer L. Jennifer, I'm not going to try and pronounce your surname, I'm sorry. Oh, your mic isn't working. Hello, Jennifer from Ohio as well. She's just posted a message in the chat introducing herself. Thank you, Jennifer. Hopefully we can get you back on later to introduce yourself. I think some people have suggested leaving and coming back, it helps. But by all means, just stay and listen if you'd prefer. So in that case, we'll move on to Katie. Katie there? At the moment, her mic is muted.
Hi, guys. I'm Katie McNamara. I'm in Central California, the United States. I am a Google Innovator with LAX 18. I serve as a teacher librarian at my high school, and I'm an interim director at the university for the credential to become a teacher librarian. So that means I have my hands in like so many different things. And people think I know everything. So yes, being a librarian means I know a lot, but not everything. But I am tasked by nature of my job to find out everything I don't know. So it has been super exhausting, not even just trying to manage what I'm going to do with my students, but helping everyone that's coming to me with questions. And I even just apologize to my husband, I'm so sorry, I have to help this person. They're asking about yada yada. I don't know yet, so I need to find out. But don't worry, honey, our schools aren't shut down yet, but they will be. And then I'll make up this time with you. Just right now, I have to help all these people that are reaching out.
Yeah, it's interesting you said that. That was something cool.
Okay, I would say my
spirit animal.
Okay, a spirit animal as a horse, because I'm smarter than I look, and I'm extremely loyal.
Thank you, lovely. Before we introduce the next person, I'll just say that was something that came up a lot yesterday as well. We, as the EdTech people in our schools, are often the people that are getting all of the pressure at the moment. So, Katie, you're not alone. That's a really, really common one. We're all getting all the phone calls because up until now, we're that annoying person who tells everyone to use the computers more. And now we're that person who knows everything and can help us. So a lot of people are under a lot of pressure, and just want you to know that we're all here. We're all happy to listen to you if you're struggling anytime. My DMs are always open on Twitter. I'm going to regret saying that, I suspect. But yeah, anybody who ever feels like they just are feeling a bit overwhelmed at the moment, please just get in touch with one of us. Those people who introduced themselves at the beginning, I'm fairly confident most of them would be happy to have a chat. So we'll move on anyway to Maria. Thank you very much, Katie. Is Maria there? Hello.
Hi, can you hear me? Hi,
yes.
Hi. I'm from Lakes Entrance, regional coastal Victoria, Australia. I'm a STEM primary teacher, Sydney 19 innovator. Here we don't have shutdowns yet, only in Victoria they're starting to, some events are being cancelled, but otherwise no talk of what's happening in school yet. In this area, it's going to be an issue because we're low socioeconomic. The issue of people being able to reach to education and the social emotional side is going to be a concern.
Yep. And animal?
Rhino. I was charged by one in Nepal. I survived. And I think my passion for change is the same momentum as a charging rhino.
Yeah. Hi, Maria. Yes. Hi, Maria. I think it's Maria. I think there's a special day for Maria today.
Yes, it is.
Oh,
yes,
really?
it is my birthday.
Happy birthday, Maria. Welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Aww. Leslie.
Oh, that's lovely. So yeah, I just wanted to reiterate something Maria said there about mental well-being of both staff and pupils. That's a massive concern for all of us. One of the things that came up, we were talking about yesterday, is things like Google Hangouts. Some schools are thinking, oh, maybe we should block Google Hangouts and not let the students talk amongst themselves in case they say rude things. Well, they need to talk to each other in order to stop social isolation. So I can't speak now. So they're not getting lonely. And actually, it's better that they can talk amongst themselves. And let's be honest, if they're going to swear on a Google Hangout, they'd swear in a playground. So you've got to think about how we can make sure we still feel connected, even though we're not necessarily spending as much time with each other as we would normally. And the same is true for us as adults. That's why we've got this staff room open. I would urge you, if you're within a school, to set up an open staff room hangout for your staff so they can just chat, pop in for a cup of tea. Elizabeth made a good point there about keeping an eye on those people who would be isolated in the playground and would now be even more isolated, and make sure we're checking in on them or asking somebody else to check in on them. So I'm going to move on, carry on with introductions. Sorry, I just keep interjecting with things. May, let's get May to introduce herself.
Hi everyone, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, cool. My name is May. I probably met a few of you, like Steph and some other people, just really briefly. But my name is May. I'm from Google. I am the owner of our trainer program. So it sounds like a lot of you guys are in the trainer program. It sounds like a lot of you guys are innovators as well, which I work really closely with my colleague Dan. So really cool. I just wanted to jump in. Honestly, I'm so inspired by the stuff that you guys are doing. Me reading our trainer group, I'm amazed by how much dedication, work, and passion you guys are putting to not only help your districts, but really just help each other out. And I think that's just, it's hard to put into words, but I'm really grateful that, I get to be in a group like this and get to encounter all of you guys. I was a high school math teacher before I joined Google, and our district was so behind in technology. We had these giant ThinkPad laptops that nobody used, including myself, because we didn't know, we had no guidance to use. And I wish that I was part of a group like this so that I could learn, from you guys and then take back to the district. So just know that if nobody, thanks you guys every day, just know that everyone at Google here, and I've been promoting you guys a lot to my colleagues and just sharing the work that you're doing. So just really grateful. Know that we all care. We all are very appreciative of the work. I have a few links that I think Google has came up with. So we created a resource website that houses all of our COVID-19 resources, including education hangouts on air, including there's a form that if you guys have ideas on how to help others, I know you guys are already doing that within the community, but this form will go out to everyone. So people that we can't even reach within our program. So please add your resources there. And then just little blog posts here and there to help with distant learning. So I won't hijack this meeting. I think Kat and the team are doing so amazing. But I'll put my email here. So if you guys have questions, you can directly reach out to me. I do have a 1-year-old that's home and I have to drop off after this, but thank you so much for letting me be a part of it. And I feel really grateful to be here. So, and then great work. Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us, May. But you haven't told us about your animal yet.
Oh, my animal. I don't have a favorite animal, but I think hummingbirds are really cool. So I will just say I'm cool and that's my animal. So thanks. But yeah, thank you so much.
Make sure you take the time to just look through the chat because there was an awful lot of lovely things people were saying about
you.
So
I will do. I will.
I want to make sure you see them. Thank you, May. Thank you so much. Thank you. Moving on, I think Mrs. Roberts is our next person to introduce themselves.
Hello. Hi.
Woohoo, they are.
Hi. Nicole is my name. I go by Mrs. Roberts at school. I teach in London. I come from Sydney, but I've been teaching in London for 20 years now this year. I'm a music specialist and coordinator and took on computing about 5 years ago. I'm about to do the Google Trainer course. So, now would be a great time to study up on that because I've got a few more weeks. But yeah, we just rolled out in this last week. We got 30 Chromebooks for the school. All the staff at the juniors all now have Chromebooks, so we've been giving courses to them and to up them. And each class has a Chrome captain, and we've put a club for them. So now, well, we don't know when school will close. We're anticipating potentially Wednesday. So I really liked what Elizabeth said earlier about looking at ways of not teaching the teachers new things. I think that's quite important. Some of my teachers go from really confident to, oh my God, you're scaring me kind of thing. So if I can put a balance of just trying to help them, the kids actually fantastic. So I think they'll be fine. And interesting about what the teacher said in Rome about how the second week is a problem. I think that's something to keep in mind. So anything like that. And my animal well-being, Australian and a singer, a kookaburra is my thing. So
excellent. I love all the different animals we're getting. It's so interesting. Thank you so much for introducing yourself. I think the next person is Cheryl.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello, everyone. My name is Cheryl. I teach in Rockland County in New York State in United States. And I'm a media specialist. I have been teaching for 20 years, and I'm really just here to listen, to hear what's going on, because we're so far behind in technology and our students come from very low socioeconomic backgrounds that they have no technology. So we are having a virtual learning on Tuesday for teachers. We've been closed for a week now. And I'm very interested to see how that's going to roll out, since I would have to say at least 3/4 of our students don't have technology. So that's about it. And my spirit animal, I'm going with, I don't know, the golden retriever person. I love dogs, so that's my spirit animal.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And I will go back to something that was said yesterday. Pete, who introduced himself earlier, was talking about some of his pupils who didn't have good access. So I might get him to speak once we finish the introduction, just to review what he was saying, because that was really useful. And if you get time, have a look back over yesterday's video, because that may be helpful to you. So we'll move on to Phil there.
Hey, good morning, everyone. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Good, that's working. So my name is Phil Carew. I'm from Sid 19. I'm a trainer and a GEG leader as well. We have our 8th Mornington Peninsula Google Educator group happening next week. And I'm just about to send the email out to say that will move online. We've got 45 people attending from 14 different schools. So it's always exciting when we get together each term, but this one will be online, which I think is just best for everyone. And if people aren't using it, it will be a nice little trial for them as well. So my role is digital technologies e-learning, and I also teach our senior media program. I guess last week we started trialing a few Hangout online classes, which have worked really, really well. So I think just like our heads of faculty are trialing them to then give information to their staff and support them. Over the weekend I ran some Hangouts just for staff. If it's just open, if you want to jump in, let's chat. And like you said, I really loved, I wrote that down on my little post-it note. I'd like to have that morning tea and lunchtime. Let's just keep that at the staff room, but it's just online. So if it does happen. So currently in Victoria, there are talks that it will happen, but it's kind of, I think, what we're saying. The schools are saying it's not if, it's when. So I think everyone's kind of just waiting and just really preparing ourselves. But I just wanted to share this email came from our principal yesterday, and it was just this really great supportive email that she shared with all staff and kind of just let us know what they'd shared with families. But I think this message is really important that we are all sharing with our communities. So part of her email was, please remember, as discussed last week, that we understand that teaching will be different for everyone. We are not aiming for consistency. We are aiming for continuity in an educational program. So I think that's really important, is that it won't be consistent, and this is going to look different for everyone. And I think it's, I think a message that we need to share and spread, and we don't want to cause stress and anxiety for our staff, our students, and I think it's a big one.
Yeah, it's so important, and I see teachers feeling like they've got to stick to that 9 till 5, and that just isn't going to work. A few people saying they've got to dash. We've been talking for 50 minutes already. But it's so important that we understand that we can't replicate the school day virtually. We have to come up with new, different ways to deliver content. I'm really glad you stressed that one, Bill. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm off to W7, so have a great day, night, afternoon.
Do you have an animal before you go?
100% unicorn. Hands down, unicorn.
Fair enough. Lovely to meet you. I'm going on to Sharon. Thank you. Bye-bye. Sharon's there.
Yep. Is that me?
Hello. Yep.
Hi. I'm in Sydney, Australia. I'm part of Sid 19 as well. And I do like Vegemite, like Leslie. Our schools are open at the moment. I think we're all thinking they possibly will close, maybe closer to our Easter break, to make it a longer break than it normally would be. I team teach with the teachers at my school, trying to help them integrate technology. I think the problem we will have is access of students. One student the other day said that they do their research on their dad's mobile. That's the only device they have access to at home, whereas other children will have devices. I think that's where we'll have some problems. We possibly should survey perhaps the families to see, which way it is, because we don't probably think about that at school. We've got the devices. We have devices in every classroom. It's not one-to-one. I think I need to prepare some of the teachers more than others. We've been using Google Classroom for a couple of years, but some teachers use it a lot and some teachers just use it when they work with me for one lesson a fortnight. So I think I'll be sending something out with, have you got a Google Classroom set up? Make sure I'm a co-teacher. Here's some videos that you can add an assignment or a message or something like that, just so they've got something in case we close quicker than we think we're going to. Because if what's been happening is if a child tests positive, they close the school for a few days, go through and clean the schools, and then they're reopening. So unknown times, we'll have to see what happens.
Yeah,
my spirit animal, I decided a tortoise, because I'm always pretty slow and steady and I get there in the end, but I sort of plod along a little bit.
Excellent. I honestly love to hear what people think of their spirit animal. So I think that's everyone that's introduced themselves. Is there anybody who hasn't that I've missed off for one reason or another because they've joined late or they had a mic problem?
I think Devon just joined, Kat.
Did he? Oh,
hey,
Devon,
everybody, how are you?
Hello, welcome.
I found a great opportunity to jump in. First of all, I was kind of glued to the update from the governor here in California. Really interesting stat that he threw out here. 51% of the state's districts are closed, and that represents 85% of our state's student population. And I think the largest area where they haven't is currently the one where I reside. So I'm entering into an area of a lot of uncertainty, and I think the other thing that they announced is that they're mandating, or the recommendation for the state is to close all the bars and nightclubs and brew pubs. And then they're going to ask the restaurants to limit their capacities by half. Yeah, to kind of encourage that social distancing. So with that said, school's still kind of nebulous, nothing uniform, which, it's not a uniform area. So I think there is that just kind of general anxiety. And, from a mental health perspective, having, undergone and, attended therapy for, months, a couple of years ago, for anxiety and depression myself, like you definitely start to sense that anxious uncertainty really kicking in on some of our campuses, especially with the general understanding that distance learning is not going to be feasible for a lot of our population. So I think right now, as a campus academic coach, I have a little bit of a broader perspective on the general impact and how our teachers might start to support that. And I guess in that sense, it's been really interesting that we haven't rushed to close, because we can kind of get a sense for what is and isn't working now that the process has gone underway. But it's been really encouraging to hear just kind of the general approach be, don't try to put everything on there. Focus on one or two essentials that can maintain some continuity going forward. I don't know if this guy counts as the spirit animal. Can we get in there? There's Braddock. He's our 10-year-old pit bull, and he is living the life. Gets up when he needs to, provides companionship when it's appropriate, but otherwise, hey, I'm just here. Let's enjoy things.
Thank you. Thank you so much for introducing yourself as well. Is there anyone else I've missed? Because I've not been keeping an eye on as people have joined. Doesn't look like it. Okay, so there are a couple of things that are coming up that I just wanted to give people a chance to chat about, to throw their weight behind. The one that we talked about yesterday that I'm going to get Pete to just briefly summarise, but it'd be good to get a few more people's input, is this problem of students who don't have reliable access to either devices or the internet. So Pete, I'm going to ask you to start on this one because you had a good solution yesterday, and then we'll see if anyone else has got any ideas on that one.
Okay, yeah. Obviously, as I said a bit earlier, we're at that contingency planning phase rather than actually being there. So it's entirely possible that people with more experience can throw in some better ideas here. But yeah, we're certainly kind of going around and saying to people, look, you need to deal with this where you're at. Now's not the time to start learning new skills, and it's not the time to start assuming that your students are totally wired up at home, that they've got Wi-Fi, that they've got the devices. We need to quickly find out who has access and who doesn't have access. We need to remember that there's phones, and if they can't join something via video, then give them a ring, keep in contact with them still. Don't let them start to feel isolated because the rest of the class might be doing stuff online and they're not able to join in with that. And to, head up to the library, start finding those old textbooks and go old school in how things are being delivered. The printing budget's going to go through the roof, people printing off packets, which, okay, people might not particularly like, but it used to work. And it can work again. And in this sort of situation, trying to remember that it's not business as usual. This isn't trying to do things to demonstrate best practice across the board. Some of us who can feel more confident, and we've got classes where they're all online, yes, we might be able to shine and show how EdTech can be really, really used well. But for the majority of people, there is going to be somebody in their class who can't join in. So we need to be mindful of that all the way through. That's kind of the main message we're trying to push through. And I have to say, I've been really worried looking at Twitter today. There's a number of people I've seen who seem to be suggesting that their schools are saying, or their colleges are saying, carry on, and whatever lessons you have in the day, that's what you carry on teaching. And it worries me. It cannot happen like that. No matter how much I look at it, I can't see a way that can work. So if anybody's in a situation where they're doing that, I'd love to know if it is working and how you're getting it to work if it is, because I'm a bit worried there may be more people out there in that situation thinking this is undoable. And what advice can we give them?
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that's one thing we need to stress as well, that where possible, don't stick to a normal timetable. Again, I think Nick made a really good point yesterday about switching to more project-based learning and things like that, because in a project-based learning environment, there's less pressure on sticking to a timetable. So yeah, it's a really good point, Pete, and it is worrying that lots of people are being expected to do that. Has anyone else got any thoughts on how we can support our students who don't necessarily have access to the internet?
remember to unmute your mic if you do have something to say. Eerie silence. I'm going to take that as nobody else has got any thoughts on supporting this.
I was just going to say that someone made a comment about getting hotspots from local libraries. I don't know if that is definitely something that I will be looking into for our students. We did put out a survey on Google Forms to see who had internet access and what devices they would have at home. And so far, we haven't had anyone that has had any issues with having internet, but I also know that they're running into issues with childcare. So it's possible that they may end up at a location that does not have internet or good internet. So contacting the local libraries to see what they might have available is going to be something that I'll be doing in the next couple days.
And I think Hans just said, would it be possible to share that form or a copy of that form?
Yes, I can put a link to that form in the Slido for you guys to use. I'm happy to do that.
Brilliant. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Jennifer. That's really helpful. And that's what this is all about. We're all supporting each other and sharing our resources.
There's a couple of questions that have come in on the Slido. So please, everyone, check out the questions. You can upvote some of the questions. One of the most popular questions so far has been, what distance learning solutions have been most successful in their experience thus far?
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you, Abid. That was one I was keen to talk about anyway. So some of us have started doing distance learning already. Has anyone got any hero pieces that they've done so far?
I'm happy to share a little bit there. Knowing that this was probably coming, I started to do some trial runs with my own students while they still were in my classroom to get some feedback from actual students on what was working. And then as the ed tech person, I have been doing some meetings with staff. So I think there are like so many facets to this. And so for me in my role, I'm seeing many layers, but I can only handle a certain amount of things at one time. So in my mind, I have to think about it from the practicality of like, what does a teacher need? And so you've got to figure out where your school is. So for my school, we have access to tech, so it eliminates that other piece, but we cannot assume that all students will have access to the internet at all times. Some of our students live in mountainous regions where they might not. But given the fact that we can, what I did do was, if we are going to try to use Google Meet sometimes, so our protocols at our school are, if we do it, that it's for no more than 30 minutes. We do 90-minute blocks, but that it isn't going to be something that's like a stressful piece. It would follow the same timing of the day, that all of our teachers would post their agendas at the beginning of the week so that students know what's going on, and that parents are alerted and know when to look at our learning management system. And then I started to think about what are protocols that would help teachers in this. So one of the pieces I made a form that I'll drop in, or a chart that I'll drop in here, because from a user side, like as a teacher, I wanted some practices that I could use with my class. Like when you move, if you've never been in a digital setting where you're having students all of a sudden able to all talk virtual online, you need some protocols to help you go through it for a first time through. So I just shared it in the chat, but that has been really popular with my staff, and I know it's shared out beyond my school, just to help students to know when you come in, make sure you're on mute, and here's the way that we conduct ourselves in the chat. Here are certain jobs that you can have during the time that we are meeting together. I'm actually using those same protocols with my own staff. And then my last thing, because then I'm going to go quiet and just be in the chat for a little bit, if that's okay, Kat, is what I did today, and I'm happy to post kind of my text message that I sent actually, is as a tech person, I'm the only one for my school. There are many people in my district, and don't get me wrong, there are other IT people, but I'm the only teacher tech person on my campus. So I'm getting a lot of teacher to teacher, like, can you help me with this? So what I decided to do was I texted people this morning very early and said, would you be available for a Google Meet tonight from 8:30 to 9:30 p.m.? And I'm going to go over some of the pieces that we're going to be doing tomorrow. at our staff meeting, where I'm only going to have 30 minutes with each department. And so I'm going to give them a preview so that I am not the only person with this information. But what I have learned is that people want a person. So I've tried to create all of these videos and help people, but they are seeking hand to hand, like people without touching contact right now, you know? So when I can meet with them, I want to be able to give them all of this information so then I'm not the only person and there's a contact person in every department who has this information. So that has been, I will be able to let you know after 8:30 how that goes, but I'm going to use the same protocols that I would expect with my students in that same Hangout. And then if teachers are not able to do virtual or synchronous, then our expectation is that they're posting a daily agenda with links to things that students can follow, and that we're calling students that aren't able to come in and follow.
Brilliant. Thanks, Steph. Before I go on, because I may have to leave soon, just to keep you aware of what's going on, I'm hoping to run these chats every Tuesday, Thursday and Sunday at different times to cover as many time zones as possible. So, for example, today's one seems to mostly be America and Australia. We're getting the two extremes, not very many Brits, me and Pete waving the flag, and a few Australians in London. Avid, sorry, yep. But yeah, so we'll be doing, I think, an afternoon usually on a Tuesday for me. So work that one out. And then a morning on Thursdays for me, and then evening on Sunday. So hopefully we can keep these up as long as we need to make sure there's somewhere people can check in. It's really important, I think, that we can just have that little chat. I can see people are starting to leave because we've been talking for an hour already. So carrying on, anyone else got any hero pieces that they just want to talk about that have gone really well with their staff, with their students? Get more silence. It's scary.
I'll talk about a tool that has really helped us, or helped me specifically from a PD point of view, and that would definitely be Screencastify. I think for the fact that I don't really get that many opportunities to deliver PD to teachers, because usually PD sessions get booked out very far in advance with curriculum related stuff. I think that's where I found some of the tech stuff really kind of suffered. And so Screencastify and Loom have been really, really useful for being able to do, video recordings of how to do general tech stuff, especially around Google Classroom, which is what we're using for a lot of our remote learning stuff at our school, where we're at a really kind of the start of the journey in terms of actually starting to do the curriculum side of things in the cloud and online. So I would definitely recommend that as my hero tool. Screencastify is offering. I read something today to say that they're now offering schools that are affected by COVID-19 free premium subscriptions. Loom is now free forever for teachers and students. So definitely reach out to them. I reached out to them yesterday, and they've now made my account pro. And so it's really good from that perspective. But I think that's it. And even my personal growth, it's helped me to grow in the confidence side of things, to just record these videos and then play them back and then listen to myself and hate myself for it. But re-recording those videos and I think that's really helped me to be able to deliver PD via online video recordings, using those tools. So I really think that's a really hero tool for me, and I definitely recommend everyone to check those out.
Thank you, Abid. That's really helpful.
Can I jump in also?
Yes, please do.
I think I was I was mentioning to Kat also this coming week, and I put in the link there to a little Google Doc. It's like, gee, that's sweet training. So just using it, and again, I know somebody mentioned, I don't want to push too much and maybe alarm people. So I just said, you know what? I talked to my curriculum people, my bosses, and I said, hey, can I just throw this out there? I mean, we know what's coming. Like nobody really wants to talk about it, but I'll just, lighten it up a bit just with this. And so, there we go. I had so many people sign up on Friday afternoon when this went out. It was just amazing how many teachers are out there and they see what's happening and they see that they need to get ready for something like this. So this is something that I'm going to be doing during this week, starting tomorrow. And then also I was showing Kat how our district, since we do shared drives within our district, every teacher from K through 12 has their curriculum in a shared drive where they can, download all those goodies, and they all already have some links that the curriculum writers came that work in the summer on it, posted up. So there'll be some resources there for them to kind of look over, and at least that'll help somewhat with a timeline. And we know we have to be realistic. It's not going to be a normal school day. It's not going to be a normal school setting, but at least now they can look at those documents a little bit more because they are full of hands-on activities as well that the students would be able to do, just hands-on, not low tech, and then just kind of, meet or do a Google Meet and to go over what it was that they did during their learning experience and just be able to share. But we do have 3 content specialists only as well. So, mind you, we're 14 schools and there's just 1 instructional tech, 1 math person for K through 12, 1 English person from K through 12, and 1 science person from K through 12. So they're working hard. And so now when they access the share drives, they'll see something that'll say, digital resource folder with some ideas. So just kind of being proactive this week and creating those things. And I agree with Abid, the tools that, with the Screencastify and being able to bring some of that online training to the teachers and just seeing visual and, sometimes even just, and Abid, like myself too, was very self-conscious about myself. But what I do is I'll put myself on those videos because it makes a big difference when a teacher sees your face, a familiar face or just a smile. You really get a really nice response many times, even though, and it makes a big difference. So I think just hearing your voice and that you're walking them through this and just showing your face, it really makes a big difference to those teachers as well. And especially as if we move into, the social distancing and things of that sort, I think it'd be very nice to see some familiar faces and hear familiar voices during that time.
Yeah, as Leslie's just said, it's the personal touch, just being able to see somebody and all that kind of thing, keep in contact with people and feel more comfortable. Thank you, Alfonso.
I think I can add a little bit of insight too, as far as my experiences in kind of the idea of flipping the classroom. I did this experimentally with a history class when I taught 6th grade. And it was really interesting because I do like the idea of leveraging video as much as I possibly can. And I think this model actually benefits the idea that we can interact with students if, let's say, the mobile device is the only computer that they have access to at home. So I would create these basically a screencast of a presentation I prepared on a lesson out of a textbook. And I think it was about 12 minutes long for the first one I did. I followed up with, being able to guide students through, some of the less clear points of the chapter. And then at the end of the week, I gave the quiz, and the average score on the quiz was only about 30% out of 100. So that was really worrisome for me until I started looking at some of the data analytics. So I had shared these on YouTube and allowed students to kind of watch through there. And what was interesting was that out of the 12 minutes of the video, they were watching it only for an average of about 4 minutes. Well, I went back to look at the questions they were getting correct on the quiz. And wouldn't you know it, they all came from the first 4 minutes of the video. So for my second lesson, I decided to make that video only 4 minutes long with maybe a minute of a recap at the end. And when I followed that up with a quiz at the end, the average went to about 80. I was able to consolidate the lesson in a meaningful, digestible time span for my students to allow them access to the material. So, I think there's this idea, this perception with distance learning and remote learning and planning that I have a 45-minute block. I have to create a 45-minute video or lesson or activity. No, I mean, if you can consolidate what you do in 45 minutes through a video, then that's tremendous. You all of a sudden can create an asynchronous learning experience, time shift so that it is amenable for meeting your students when they can access it. And now, with the advent of Google Forms, you could very easily embed your video into a form that has the questions that students will be able to respond to so that you can follow along with progress. So, don't overthink it. And, if you do multiple periods of the same class, it's a great way to consolidate what you do as well so that you're not doing something for every single period that you would have.
That's really helpful. Thank you so much, Devon.
And just to chip in on what Devon said, I think Devon, you present on the Do the Math program in Bakersfield, California, and I think that kind of really sums up what distance learning actually is, because you're actually doing that on YouTube. And taking calls from anyone who has any mathematical questions, and I think that's a really great example for people to see.
So if anybody is, we only have 2 weeks left of shows. We'll be doing Tuesday and Wednesday from 4 to 5 p.m. Pacific time. If you have kids that want to call in with a homework problem, we will work it out live with them. And the address for that is dothemathonline.net. And you can also find it via YouTube as well. So, if you have kids that want to call in for that guidance for something that they're working on, please, we invite them to do so. But like I said, we only have about 2 weeks left of programming in the school year.
Thank you so much. And Jess has just shared that link in the chat. I've seen a few links coming up in the chat, actually. Thank you, Ed. You shared a nice big list of companies offering free access to the resources. So that's really great. I've missed a lot of things. I'm sure there were other useful things. Those are the ones I caught out of the corner of my eye. Brilliant. I'm just going to address one question that came up a couple of times in the chat, which was about attendance. How do you monitor attendance for pupils whilst doing remote learning? Going from what people said yesterday, my gut instinct is you can't really, but I'm sure people have other opinions. So let's see if anyone's got any thoughts on managing attendance.
I would say if you're trying to manage attendance, really what you need to be looking at is managing learning. And rather than necessarily did they make it to the whole of online lesson, or did they make it at all, even did they do what you're asking them to do in whatever format they can do it, and kind of go back and sort attendance based on what work has been completed. That, to my mind, just going on past experience, when I've had to cancel classes, that's always the policy I've gone on with it. Some students will do the work in 2 minutes. Some of them will take an hour and a half. Some of them won't bother at all. So it's just been if you've done the work, then I will mark you as being present for that lesson. And if you haven't done the work, then you're not going to be present. That's just my take.
Brilliant. Thank you, Pete.
If I can add, I think one of the biggest challenges related to online education, and one of the reasons why we have so much absenteeism in massive open online courses like the free ones that are available, is simply because there's a lack of accountability. And so I feel like the attendance component, especially writing down exactly what you're going to do today and what you're going to achieve, is essential if you want them to continue their learning. And so I work in a corporate environment, and in there, most of what we do is we either have a Slack channel or we have a Discord channel or some kind of chat channel where people just write down, here's the thing that I'm going to be working on today. And then they have some level of accountability every single day. And, it's not just the teacher, like student to teacher accountability, but also peer-to-peer accountability. Like you find one accountability partner, say for the week, and then they will make sure that you're doing your stuff. So there's always that level of accountability, because that's often what's missing in the online space, is that you just sit at home and you just don't do any of the work. So attendance seems like a hard thing to do, but believe me, it's worth it, because if you don't, you get nothing done. So that's kind of my take on it.
That's really helpful, Ed. Thanks. Yeah, and that came up yesterday. This idea that if you've got some tangible goals at the start of the day, it's really useful
So teachers posting what your goals for the class are today. And then, as you say, that sounds like a really good idea, saying to the pupils, you know, what do you want to achieve? And I like this idea of accountability partners. That sounds amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. Has anyone else got any opinions or thoughts on this one?
That was, there have been some really great ideas there. I'll just pop in here if I may. I was listening to Jenny Magira's Google presentation. It's really good to go and listen to that from the Google site. And one point she made was she called it proof of life, which I thought was a really great concept. But she pops in little quizzes, or she asks the students for a response. So what have you learnt? And I think Jen Lieben had said that yesterday as well. And it's not only just taking the role, taking that attendance role, it's also just making that little touch base connection. So little simple ideas can make it a personal style of attendance taking as well.
One of the things we mentioned yesterday was that not all students are actually going to be able to be there at the right time because, for example, they've got a younger sibling they've got to look after. So taking attendance may not necessarily be the right thing to do. As Pete said, it's important that we look at the outcome. We see whether or not they've done the work. As Ed's just said, making sure they've got the goals and they're achieving them, not necessarily being online at exactly the right time to suit the teacher.
Sometimes, if I might add, when I used to work with SMART, one of the most popular activities was an attendance activity. You just move your name from one space into the classroom. But the reason that was so important was that was your first experience with the technology, something simple that you know that everyone can do. And if they are able to do that, then they're going to be more willing to speak up when they do have a question. But if the first time that they have to speak up and ask a question is also the first time they're using this technology, they're going to be very hesitant. They're very unlikely to ask any questions. You're likely to get no feedback at all. And so they've just noticed that these basic type of attendance activities where you have to show signs of life, something like that, just show your name or whatever, that can make a huge, huge difference for their willingness to participate online.
Brilliant. Thank you, Ed. That's great. Abid, Leslie, Steph, you've been monitoring chat. Anything else that's come up?
There was just a point on the Slido from Roberta saying she would love to help people who speak Spanish and Portuguese. She's the GEG leader for Mexico. I know that Luis, who hasn't been able to make it tonight, is planning on doing some sessions in Spanish as well. So I'll definitely reach out to Luis on Twitter. I would say that. One interesting question that I saw was, anyone's schools who are closed, have you been teaching science? Which apps and methods have been giving the best results? So any science teachers on the call who might be able to chip in?
Instead, I'm just being mocked for the poster in the background. It's not mine, it's his.
Best film ever.
We may have to come back to the science teacher question, so I'm not sure we've got the right people in today, but we may save that one for a future chat unless anyone's got anything that's jumping out. No, still on eerie silence for that one. Science Journal, yes. Is that Nicole saying that? Yeah, great idea. And Workbench, obviously, although, yeah, we'll see. I cannot science, yes. Karen, you haven't introduced yourself. You've just arrived late. I feel like you have to. Oh, is Jennifer talking to us, or?
Jump on for a moment. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, you haven't introduced yourself, Karen.
Oh, okay. I did, and it's fresh out of the shower, so I'm not turning on the camera. But yes, I am Karen Compton out of Singapore. I teach at an IB school, so we have all of these conversations floating around right now in terms of MYP and very inquiry-based learning where kids generally collaborate in person and are building questions and ideas. So then how do you translate that to a more isolated environment? And how do you maintain that collaboration?
Oh, you're cutting out a moment there, Karen. Can't hear you.
I think we lost you, Karen.
Oh, that's quite sad. Okay.
Whilst we're waiting for Karen, there's one question that came up on the Slido is how can we engage educators who are feeling afraid of distance learning because they think they could lose their job? I think John Neal, who's the head of digital learning at Halcyon Academy in London, really touched really well on that one on Twitter to say that, you know, with the ever increasing exposure on digital tech and distance learning and ed in general, I think the most important thing he said was it's always going to be about the teachers and the people and never about the tech. The tech, we have to remember, is a tool to enable the teaching and learning. And I think those who might be feeling afraid of the tech should definitely be encouraged with that, to say that, look, the tech is a tool. It's you who is the teacher who will command that tool, and without the teacher and that person in place. And you know what Alfonso was touching on to say that, you know, you still need that personal touch. And no matter how great the EdTech tool is, and there are some great EdTech tools out there, they're not great without the teacher and the person behind it.
Can I add to what Abid was just sharing? Can you hear me okay? Oh, yep. Sorry, Kat. Is that okay? Or
yeah, please do, Jess, please.
Sorry. Yeah, what I agree entirely that, you know, we are social people. We're social animals. You know, we're made for that, and that social interaction. I think that teachers and students are always going to need those connections. And something that we actually had a connection with earlier was letting the students take some reins here in their own learning. And, you know, while we might have a lot of hesitant or worried teachers, I think they can be reassured when they see how flexible and adaptable students are. I think we forget how resilient they are and really how amazing they are and how much they can teach us as well. So, you know, sometimes it makes sense to just let them show the way and, you know, pave it a little bit easier to, and also, of course, that just because they know how to do these tools and they can figure things out, even probably without their parents or teachers, doesn't mean that they don't want to share that and show others and, you know, make that, get that validation and everything, of course, too.
Brilliant. We've got a couple of new people just joined. So I've just seen Kay Allen. I'm sorry, I don't know your first name, but it sounds like you're having a bit of a tough time. So let's let you quickly introduce yourselves and then we'll go back to Karen. So Kay, would you like to say hello? Or not? Karen, did you want to carry on introducing yourself then and we'll see?
Yes, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, good. I was like waiting anxiously. Yes. I don't know where I cut out exactly. But I can go ahead. Don't know.
I think it's quite early on, so.
Okay. Yeah, so it's pretty interesting here in Singapore. I teach at an MYP IB school. So everything is very much based on inquiry-based and students collaborating and generating questions and working together on things. So it's been a bit of an interesting conversation trying to figure out how do you generate that same collaborative interaction in a more isolated environment. We initially spent several days working on this as a staff. Singapore's been very preventative in a lot of measures. We do temperature checks twice a day. Things are cleaned down several times a day. There's a Universal Studios here, and every time people get off rides, they're wiped all the way down, and then you get back on them, and all the handrails. So very preventative. And as a result, knock on wood, we have not yet closed schools, which was really interesting considering the fact that we were one of the first countries outside of China to have a major blow up and start to see the numbers come in, that we thought it was just indefinite. And now we're hanging in there by a thread of not having to do that. However, yesterday they closed down a bunch of borders now to all the like Asian countries nearby. So again, really trying to stick with preventative. In terms of teaching and resources, it's given us a lot of time to collect and curate resources before we've had to jump in and start using them. So my heart goes out to the teachers that were given such short notice on having to put together a whole bunch of stuff so quickly and teach kids how to use it so quickly when we've been prepping for this now for a month and a half.
Gosh, so a bit crazy busy. That sounds like it's not too bad. I've also spotted we've got Wiley joined us as well, who hasn't introduced himself today. He did yesterday, but I don't know if you want to say hello, Wiley. Or is he just lurking at the bottom of the list?
Sure. Hey, everyone.
Hello.
Can you see me?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, I am here in Louisiana, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and I am a school principal, but I also support and coach other principals and work with district admin. So I'm actually doing a virtual session on tomorrow for some local charter schools, for some people who are very much in similar situations. So for the past few years, I served as like the what they call a principal for technology integration for the second largest district in the state. It's about 44,000 kids, 86 schools, and so. All of a sudden on Friday, without notice, the governor closed every school in the state. And so it's just been people have been on a scramble. So I'm doing a session tomorrow, and some of the things that some of you all are saying, I'm adding to my presentation. I'm doing it virtually, of course, because I have to be cautious as well. But I was just looking at one thing in the meet right now, and that I know that there was a previous issue of students being able to delete or remove teachers from Google Meet, which is why I had been working with other things, and it seems as if Google has fixed that issue, because I was just playing with that during this session, and it's telling me that you can't remove this participant. So that is all.
So unfortunately, it's because you're not in the home domain, not in my domain. That's why you can't remove people at the moment. But I believe, I may be wrong, but I believe that they are looking to fix it over the next week or so. Don't quote me on that, but I think it is definitely on their radar, because it's the thing that all schools are complaining about. But yes, interestingly, so also the thing with new meets is if you're in the same domain, you can join the meet, but if you're not, so you have to be accepted and given permission to join. So it would be interesting to see how that one develops, but it does sound like it's on Google's radar to be tweaked, shall we say.
If it is being a real issue, I know that the CEO of Zoom announced yesterday that China, Italy, and US are being given free subscriptions to Zoom, which I think gives you a bit more control. So it might be worth checking that out with Zoom.
For what it's worth, too, it seems like with all of this massive push for teachers to have to get onto technology and use these sorts of things in a mass way, it almost feels like we're beta testing everything for everyone. And we're pointing out these issues with Meet, and we're pointing out these issues maybe with Zoom and with apps and applications. And as frustrating as it is when you're trying to deliver curriculum, it's also pretty fascinating to see how much data and information and feedback these companies must be getting just instantaneously. I think I don't know if it's just a rumor, but I was hearing that in China, they're using a specific app to deliver the majority of the lessons to kids. So the kids sorted out if they got on the Apple store and left negative reviews for the app, that Apple automatically deletes the app. So they had to get on and rework their review. Did you hear that?
Yeah, I think I read that somewhere.
It totally made me laugh because I was like, kids are freaking brilliant, man. Like, they see a problem. That's not funny. They're so innovative, though. Yeah, but the thing is
So
it points out the loopholes. This is the critical thinkers we want kids to be. Granted, they're using it against us. But on the other hand, this is what we want them to do. What's a problem you're facing? What's within your means of solution? And how can you do it? I'm like, go for it, kids. Like, how else can we like upend the world and be like, what education do you need? And granted, it's so frustrating, but on the other hand, it's pretty brilliant.
I think, was it Abid? Somebody was saying they had someone in their school had a situation where the students figured out that they could go through the Google Translate app to get past filtering. So they could access whatever they wanted. I just think that's so clever. Obviously not great, but kids, they're so smart.
Well, that's what makes me laugh, that my school's put down a whole lockdown on YouTube, and every video that a kid watch has to be vetted and approved by a teacher. And there's documents of which teachers approve what videos and on what day. Yeah, I went to open a video the other day and the kids are like, open incognito, open a guest house, go to Safari. Like, they have 3 workarounds for the one thing you put in front of them. So it always comes down to then, okay, so what do we need to teach them about technology? And even in regards to the app and getting the app shut down. And I love the conversation that was happening when I joined on about the attendance, is it all still comes down to the fundamentals. How do you get kids engaged so that they feel like it's a choice? And I think it's like Dave Burgess, Teach Like a Pirate, of if kids didn't have to go to your class, would they? Would kids pay a ticket to your class? And not that we're entertainers and we have to jump up and put on a show, but the other hand being, if your class isn't relevant, if your class isn't connecting with kids, then you are going to have attendance problems and you are going to have issues where kids are trying to skirt it and get out. So all of that's just feedback for what can I be doing to design my lesson to connect with kids.
Thank you, guys. It's 10:30 p.m., gone 10:30 p.m., and my 8-month-old has just started screaming. So I'm going to have to head off soon. There was one more thing I wanted to mention briefly, which was about students using Hangouts. And that's come up a few times. So one of the things that was mentioned is that using OUs within Google, you can say that students aren't allowed to create their own Hangout. So is it safer to use Hangouts that are set up by the school? So I just wanted to bring that one to the fore of everyone's mind while it's on discussion. But I am going to dash off to Screaming Baby, I'm afraid. But thank you so much for your time. This meet has been recorded. We will be posting the YouTube link, and we will be back again on Tuesday at, was it 10:30 a.m. GMT? So I suspect that will not suit any of the Americans, but be fine for the rest of the world. All right. Lovely to meet you all, and please carry on talking. But Abby, remember to stop the video if people go into random mode.
I will stop recording now. I will stop recording.
One of the things I was mentioning just in the chat, just for anybody that's on here to Kat as she's leaving, is I said it seemed like a lot of people were being kind and reaching out and saying they'd be willing to help others, and some of you that are in more like consulting roles and maybe aren't directly in a classroom. So my request for all of us that were a part of the creation of it was that we ensure that it doesn't get lost in the stream of the where everybody was putting their contact information, and that maybe I'll work to copy and paste that into an easier digestible piece that'll go in the notes of this doc, so people can reach out, and I'll try to go back through and hear what people's backgrounds are and put little notations next to your name. And if you need to edit that, you can edit that and we can fix that up.
You're amazing, Steph. Don't take on too much though. You work too hard.
That'll be 10 p.m. Yeah.
Hey, quick question.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, Wiley, go right ahead.
Abid, I think you mentioned about Zoom. Is there a link where you can get the upgrade? Do I have to sign up for it?
I saw it on. It was actually on Reuters yesterday, I think. But I will try to find. I'll try to find that article. It might just be best to get in touch with Zoom support or get in touch with them on Twitter. But if
it's nothing on their website.
Yeah, if I find anything, then I will tweet it over to you.
Okay.
Yeah, Wiley, are you on Twitter? Can you type your Twitter handle into the chat? And I found something I'll send over to you.
Okay, great.
And for the educator Zoom is on the Zoom website. So you can just there.
I see everyone feverishly typing.
Yeah, madly.
Once the video is all processed and everything, we will post links onto. We'll email the links out to everyone on the email list, and also a transcript of the chat, because there's been some great information on the chat as well. Something quite worrying for America that we just heard Stephanie Howell say is the president is looking to evoke what is called the Stafford Act, which could put the entire country on a 2-week lockdown.
Oh no!
So,
and she just tweeted that.
I'm hoping that's just hearsay, but yeah, it's challenging times, and I think that's what's really important about this chat and why we've set this all up, because everyone, especially us in the EdTech communities, is really feeling it. I know it's been a really rough couple of weeks for quite a few people that I connect with online, and so it's really great for Kat to set these up, and I think we will, as she said, keep them going for as long as we need to, because I think it just really helps to have this connection and be able to share experiences as we're going through it, and because we're from different countries around the world. All of our governments are doing things vastly differently. So we're all at sort of different stages. Some of our schools have closed. Some of our schools haven't closed. Some of our schools are saying they're not going to close at all. So let's keep the conversation going. Feel free to share on Twitter, and we've got a lot more of these sessions coming up during the week and next week, and we're trying to cater for as many time zones as we can. So thank you very much, everyone.
Yeah, thanks, Abid, so much. I mean, this is such a very valuable, rich, vast group of people coming together, and it's inspiring each of us to say, well, what can I do in my region? Can I take some of these ideas and this connectivity into my own region? So it's not only supporting everyone right here and now, but it's inspiring and giving us strength to go out and do something similar with our own teachers. And I think that's important to keep moving that communication along. So yeah, thanks, Abid and Kat, for doing all of this, and everyone for joining in.